Welcome to the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast. I'm Joy Taylor. You can catch us Monday through Friday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific on FS1. Here's what this podcast is all about. It's an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the day's show, and there is a lot to get into in today's podcast. Shannon says he's been watching playoff basketball since 1979, and Isaiah Thomas last night gave us one of the better playoff performances he has ever seen. Skip believes his Spurs did not take the Rockets seriously in Game 1, and he has heard the Spurs are done and too old for the last 15 years, so he's not writing his team off just yet. Meta World Peace checks in and tells us why LeBron and the Cavs have flipped a switch. Rob Parker adds his perspective on the Adam Jones situation in Fenway and has some things to say about the city of Boston and its sports teams. Finally, Hall of Famer Chris Carter's in studio to break down how Jamaal Charles will help the Denver Broncos, and Cece reminds us of how good Jamaal Charles' career has been. Skip and Shannon, let's debate. Let's get started with Isaiah Thomas's huge performance. Boston took a 2-0 lead over the Wizards after winning in overtime last night. Isaiah Thomas scored a career-high 53 points, the second most by a Celtic in playoff history. In the fourth quarter in overtime, Isaiah scored 29 points, while the entire Wizards team scored just 30. After the game, Brad Stevens and Thomas talked about the performance. Let's take a listen.
Where is this coming from, man? Where is this coming from?
It's my sister. It's her birthday today. Happy birthday. She would have been 23 today, so everything I do is for her, and she's watching over me, so that's all her.
Where are you finding not only the strength to play, but to excel in this hotly contested environment?
My family, my friends, they tell me to just keep going. My sister wouldn't want me to stop. The only thing about it is once I leave this gym, I hit reality, and she's not here. So that's the tough part. But when I'm in this arena, I can lock in, and I know everything I do is for her.
What else is there to say? There was a point today where he was not feeling good at all, and was having a tough day, and I thought he was going to really have to gut this one out. And he not only guts it out, he ends up with 50. It's pretty impressive.
Shannon, do you give more credit to Isaiah Thomas or blame to the Wizards?
I think it's 95-5. 95% of the credit goes to Isaiah Thomas. Skip, he's playing for something that's bigger than basketball. He mentioned in that piece to David Aldridge that yesterday would have been his sister's 23rd birthday. Now, we know about 10 days ago she died tragically in a car accident. And the first game that he played after his sister's death, he didn't look like the Isaiah Thomas that we know because he's money in the fourth quarter. He missed like 5 free throws. He's a 90% free throw shooter. So it was weighing heavily on his mind. But as the realization started to set in on him, my sister's not coming back. But she would want me, and he mentioned again, she would want me to carry on. She would want me to persevere. When I'm in this gym, when I'm in this arena, I get to focus solely on basketball. And as he said, but when I leave, the reality hits me. My sister's never coming back. Skip, you knew early on, in the first quarter, he had 15 points. He looked locked in. He looked like, now, here's a guy that's averaging 29. And so for me to say he looked locked in, he's always locked in. But last night, you could see, okay, he has 15 in the first quarter. He has 5 in the second, so he has 20 at the half. And then the fourth quarter, he's letting everybody else do their thing. And I think that's when the Wiz had a 14-point lead. Mm-hmm. So he has, 24 points with 3 quarters.
Yep.
Fourth quarter is IT time. Now, come fourth quarter. Now, he was the second leading scorer in the NBA. Russell nipped him at the end, Skip, because it was basically the entire season, he was averaging about 10 points a game in the fourth quarter. But he ended up averaging about 9.8, 9.7, and Russ had those big fourth quarters, and he came and nipped him at the wire. Mm-hmm. But you knew he was going to be ultra-aggressive, and he was. 20 of the Celtics, 30 points in the third quarter, he got them.
Fourth quarter.
In the fourth quarter, excuse me. He got them. Mm-hmm. Now, overtime, what you think he's going to do, Skip? He's in a rhythm now. You got your hands full. You just let him. He scores 20 of the 30 in the fourth. He scores 9 of the 15 in overtime. So he has 29 of the 45. Skip, when he had a transcendent performance, and I'm not so sure that what could the Wizards have done? Because when you look at it, Skip, John Wall had 40 and 13. They only played 9 players. 7 of them scored in double figures. But when you get a performance like this, Skip, 53 on 18 of 33 shooting, he missed 1 free throw, you're not beating. They're not beating them last night. Now, I'm going to give a little bit, 5% of the blame, because they had a 14-point lead in the third, and they had a 6-point lead with about 2.5 minutes left in the ball game. You need to be able to close that out. If you're a championship-caliber team, if you have hopes of advancing to the Eastern Conference Final and on to the finals, these are the type of games that you have to win on the road because you don't know if you'll get back in this situation again. But Isaiah Thomas' performance was one of the better performances that I've seen in all my years of watching playoff basketball, and I've been watching playoff basketball since 1979.
I've been covering this league since about 1976, and this will rank as an all-time great playoff performance. It was very special, and Isaiah Thomas is emerging as a miniature force in this league, but also in these playoffs. They're starting to be his playoffs. The tragedy with the sister, gets his tooth knocked out, 6 hours of oral surgery. No, I'm going to play. And did he ever play? One of the great performers, if you had to rank it, I don't know, it could go in, there have been many, many great ones. And this isn't exactly the conference finals or the NBA finals, but it could be a top 20 all-time performance.
And if you go to, let's say, the past 20 years, it might be a top 5 performance in the last 20.
It could be. But before I go deeper into little Isaiah, I'm going to divvy up the blame a little differently than you did. I'm going to go 55% blame to the Wizards and 45% credit just to Isaiah, not to the Celtics, just to Isaiah. Rozier made one big shot late, and they all did little things, little big things. But look, in the end, you mentioned it. Let's start with Game 1. The Wiz are up 16-0 at Boston in Game 1, and they lose by 12. Then last night, they're up 14 with about 7:57 left in the third quarter. And as you pointed out, they're up 6 with 2:43 left in the fourth quarter. And they can't close that deal when you have 2 very good players. You have one, John Wall, who's made 4 straight All-Star teams, and Bradley Beal is one of the best three-point shooters in the game. He comes and he goes, but last night he went. And last night, John Wall also went. And John Wall despises me for saying this, but I'm going to say it again. I like him personally, but I've never loved him as a player. A lot of people want to see John Wall as a superstar player. He dominates Twitter on various nights. He will trend like crazy when he has a big game. And he had a big game last night for 3 quarters. He had 35 points through 3 quarters. And then how many did John Wall score the rest of the way?
5.
5 in the fourth and 0. He got blanked in overtime. Meanwhile, his counterpart, the little man, who shot he blocked in overtime at one point because John Wall's, as small as John Wall is, what is he, like
6'3"?
6'3". I might give him 6'3". He towers over Isaiah.
Yeah.
And
Bud Webb might tower over Isaiah. It's close.
No, he wouldn't, because Spud Webb's a close friend of mine. And Spud Webb's more like 5'7", so I think he's 2 inches shorter than Isaiah. But the point is that Isaiah still...
Wall's listed at 6'4".
6'4"? Wow. I don't know if John's 6'4". But, okay, but let's give him 6'4".
Yeah.
Let's just say. So one time, and then overtime, Isaiah drove the lane, and he just said, okay, I'm going to try. And Wall just like flat-footed, just swatted it because he towers over him. But still, John Wall came up very small when his team needed him to close a deal that would have made this series 1-1 going back to Washington. And these 2 teams did split in the regular season. 2 times Washington won at Washington, and 2 times Boston won at Boston. So this was the turning point game here for the Wizards. This is conference finals, here we come, if you can close this deal. And John Wall came up very short because what happened at the end of the game? John Wall had your basic 18-foot jump shot to win the game, and he missed it. Long rebound out to Bradley Beal, who had a shot and short-armed it. He wasn't ready to shoot it, but he had a shot. And he missed pretty much everything with that shot. So they had their 2 best players, each got a pretty good shot to win the basketball game. And then we all knew what was coming when the horn went off in its tie game going to overtime. You know what the little man was going to do at that point. So I still have to blame these guys. They just should have won the game. If you're that team, if you're that guy, if John Wall is that guy, and he's not, because in the end, you could just see it and feel it. The littlest man decided he was mentally and physically tougher than anybody on the other team. Now, the other team talks a big, bad game. Markeith can talk big, bad game, right? Mm-hmm. And Gortat play tough and act tough sometimes, and John Wall acts tough sometimes, and they have a certain toughness about them, but they're not as mentally and physically tough as the only star that Boston has. Boston is the #1 seed in this tournament on the East side because of this little man, right? Who made his MVP case.
He had a transcendent performance, Skip. And you know, sometimes when you have those type of performances, we've seen Russell Westbrook have those type performances in the regular season, and there's nothing you can do about it. No. You just hope he missed. But if I'm the Wiz, I'm going to see if Amir Johnson, I'm going to see if Horford, I'm going to see if Crowder can do what they did in Game 1. I'm not going to let this guy beat me because I know he can beat me. But
it looked like last night 2 guys are chasing him. You just can't catch him. And then he dribbles between 2 guys because he kind of dribbles between your legs. He's like, and again, does he carry the ball? Yeah, he carries the ball, but he's so low to the floor, you're going to call that? Nobody's going to call that in the NBA.
They kept putting him in high pick and roll when they lost Gortat, and now they had to have Morris guard 6'10" Al Horford.
And he's just on skates. He's just lost. And you can see on his face like, don't make me do this, please.
He got that bum ankle, so he really can't go lateral.
And the one thing I love about Isaiah, he will take it to the rim. So it's not like he's just a little jump shooter. You know, he is going to, if he gets you on skates, he'll just go right by you and lay it up off the glass.
He definitely plays with no fear.
And by the way, last quick point on him. He is, to me, he's become the clutchest player in all of pro basketball.
Wow.
Just the clutchest. Because I know Russell scored a few more points, but Russell took a lot more shots in the fourth quarter. Yeah. Now, I want Kyrie on the biggest stage taking the last shot, and Kawhi has made his case this year, but nobody's made a case like this guy has repeatedly.
He's been incredible. Yeah. And last night, Isaiah Thomas became just the second player 6 feet or shorter to score 50 points in a playoff game, joining Allen Iverson. This season, Thomas averaged nearly 29 points per game, which were the most in NBA history for a player under 6 feet tall. But Shannon, is Isaiah Thomas the best little man ever?
Well, you mentioned the guy who I would consider the greatest little man ever, and that's Allen Iverson. Because I look at him as a little man. I look at him as a 6 foot, probably 5'11" and a quarter, as one of these guys. But Isaiah Thomas is rising. When I think of little guys, I think of Allen Iverson, I think of Nate Tiny Archibald, and I think of Calvin Murphy, who are in the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame. And this is what Allen, I don't know if now, let me take it like this. Nate Tiny Archibald is the only man in NBA history to ever lead the league in scoring and assists in the same season. Calvin Murphy was a great shooter, could stroke the ball from the outside, played with Moses Malone. I think they went to the finals with them in 81.
Yeah.
Lost to the Celtics.
No, he averaged 17 a game in that. Lost to Larry Bird.
Yeah. So Bird's first title. Yeah. So Nate Tiny Archibald won the title he won the title in 81 with the Celtics.
Yeah.
But Allen Iverson is 11-time All-Star, 4-time scoring champ, and he's an MVP. And I think what cemented it for me, Skip, is that the year in 2001, the Lakers had blown through everybody. Nobody was close. They were about to be the first NBA team to win all of the playoff games, 16-0.
Yep.
And what happened? Allen Iverson won the MVP that season, and they're like, even though he had there's no way they're going to get a game. And what did he do? He had a transcendent performance in Game 1, 48, and we all remember when he stepped over Ty Lue, looked out at him and says, that was for you. So this is what Isaiah Thomas is up against. Right now, Skip, at the way he's headed, he's 6th season in the NBA. I believe, can he catch Iverson? Can he get as many All-Star games? He got a late start. So I think he's only been to 1. So he's got a late start at the All-Star game. Can he be an MVP with the current crop of guys that's in the NBA right now, Skip? I don't know.
Maybe.
Maybe. It's going to be close because now, after this year is over, KD is going to be really into the discussion. First year, KD wasn't winning MVP, but he's going to be in the discussion. Harden's going to always be in the discussion. Russ, as long as he's riding solo, shotgun by himself, he's always going to be to the forefront.
Yep.
And then you got that man up in Akron that wear the crown.
The old guy?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, you know.
He's getting older by
the game. Older. But
that hair's going. He
don't even need no hair.
He don't need no
hair. He don't need no hair. But you know, Skip. So Isaiah Thomas right now, I'm going to put him 3rd on my list because he doesn't have a title.
Yep.
Nate Archibald had a title. And so, but Allen Iverson, right now, Allen Iverson is way. Allen Iverson's on at home plate, and Isaiah's on first base.
Okay, I agree with you by your definition of little man. But Allen was listed at 6 feet. You could be right. He might have been a touch under 6 feet. But if we're going to include him in the little man discussion, then we got to bring in Chris Paul. We got to bring in the quote unquote real Isaiah Thomas, as in the Hall of Fame Isaiah Thomas, as in the Pistons.
Right.
Right. So then we have to discuss them because they were about that 6 feet.
So you want to go 5'10" and under, huh? You want to go really little man.
How about 5'9" and under? Because Calvin Murphy was 5'9". A lot of our younger viewers just don't know who Calvin Murphy was, but he could just shoot the lights out. And he could jump out of the gym.
He could.
At 5'9". And he did make an all-star team, and he did, as we just talked about, he helped that Houston team get to 1 finals. But if we're going 5'9" and under, and by the way, Tiny Archibald was listed at 6'1", so he didn't even qualify for your 6 feet and under, right? And again, I love Spud Webb just because he's a friend of mine, and he did win fair and square that dunk contest against Dominique, and I was there, Dallas that year. But, I look at Nate Robinson's and Earl Boykins and even Damon Stoudemire. Avery Johnson would fit into that 5'9" range.
What about, how tall is C.J. McCollum?
I think he's 6 feet, isn't he? No.
So.
Okay.
But here's the thing, though, Skip. There's 2 things that we know.
6'4"?
Good God.
Okay, so he's way out of it.
Oh, how about this, Skip? There's 2 things we know men lie about.
Yeah.
Their height and how much money they make.
Yeah, I don't trust the listed height.
So he don't need to lie about it because we can look at his financial records on SportsIllustrated.com. So
if we're going 5'9" and under, I'm going Isaiah Thomas. I've seen enough. Okay. And again, it's hard. You underrate him now because he was the last pick in the draft that year, and he stayed for 3 years at the University of Washington.
Right.
So you say, wow, who was he at Washington? Not that much. He averaged 17 his last year. Right. He's okay. They lost in the 2nd round to North Carolina. It's okay. But he was nowhere because he starts in Sacramento, and he goes to Phoenix, and then he winds up in Boston, and then this starts happening. And this year, he averaged 29. The best Calvin Murphy average was 25.6 and 77-78.
Right.
So this year, Isaiah, 29 points. He shot 38% from 3, 46% from the floor, 5.9 assists. He's not a high assist guy because he's their scorer. He's their 2 guard, basically. And he carried them to the number 1 seed. I'm sold, man. I mean, I've seen it so many times in the 4th quarters that I've never seen anybody do that. Even like little Nate Robinson from Washington could do it occasionally.
But let's give Calvin Murphy a little credit because the bulk of his career, Skip, they didn't have the 3-point line. And he could stroke it from a long ways out.
Long ways.
Yes, he
from
could.
40 feet.
He could. So if we're going to go, as you mentioned, we're going to go 5'9" and under, well, I don't think I think it's closed.
Yep.
The greatest little man, I would have to agree with you. I would say Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas, for me, is
the
original Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, he was special on both
He was
ends.
special.
Yep.
He was really. I mean, he led Indiana to a national championship as a sophomore. He turns pro, and he played in the era with Magic, Bird, Jordan. So he's never going to get the credit. You played in that era. It's kind of like if you're a quarterback and you played in the era of Manning and Brady. Are you really going to get the credit you deserve?
Yeah.
We just, when we talk about great quarterbacks, we gloss over Drew Brees, who got 5,000-yard seasons because why, Skip? One guy got 5 Super Bowls and been to 7. The other guy got 2 Super Bowls and been to 4, and won all these records. So, but because Isaiah Thomas, Big Isaiah, played with the Pistons, because he played in that era of the 80s, the golden era, what everybody calls it, he's never going to get the credit he deserved. But if you got an opportunity to see him play, you knew how special he was.
Well, he was the leader and the driving force of a team that I would consider a dynasty, an NBA dynasty.
But 5'9" and under, I'm going to go with you. Isaiah Thomas is it for me.
And he has plenty more to go. I mean, he was in the MVP conversation this year. It's tough to
he'll get some votes. I mean, he might be 5th or 6th place.
Absolutely, and he's electric to watch.
No mercy.
The Cavs host the Raptors in Game 2 tonight. LeBron James had 35 points in the win on Monday. The Cavs lost their last 4 games of the regular season, but they've won all 5 of their games in the playoffs. We're joined by former NBA champ, Metta World Peace. Metta, welcome back.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
By the way, is now at UCLA seeking his master's degree, correct?
Yes.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Go.
Thank you.
Very exciting.
I'm excited.
Have the Cavs finally flipped the switch?
They did. He said it.
you know, and I thought they wouldn't, but they're looking like they're the type of team that when I was a Laker, everybody could flip that switch. Where we had, you know, be third seed in the regular season, then okay, it's time to win that championship, and the Cavs are looking like that. Yeah, they're looking like that.
I didn't see it against Indiana the first 4 games, your old team.
Yeah, but they won 4-0, you know, and when you can win and sweep a team and play bad,
not play your best.
Not play your best. Yeah.
Skip, I think the thing for me is that we always knew they could score. When you have a LeBron James, the best player, Kyrie can go off and get you 30, 40, 50 at any given moment. We know what Kevin Love was before he got there, but he's still a double-double guy. He can get you 18 to 22, 10, 11, 12 rebounds a night. What I was most impressed with was what they did defensively. Because when you can come out and hold a team that has 2 all-star players that can combine and go get you 60, and you hold them to 18 points in a quarter, that's what's been most impressive to me, because we know they're going to score. They're averaging 113 points a game. The concerns that everyone had going into it, can you close a team out? You get to have a lead in the fourth quarter. We saw it, Skip, Atlanta, 26-point lead, and you lose that game, which is unacceptable. But I think the turning point as far as their bench is that when they played the Miami Heat and LeBron and Kyrie did not play, Darren Williams and Channing Frye got an opportunity to play and earn T. Lue's respect and trust, and they're playing more. They're getting more from their bench. And Skip, you know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen. It pains you. Say it.
Unfortunately, I think I know what's going to happen tonight. I think another rout is going to happen tonight, because speaking of world peace, it broke out last Monday night at Quicken Loans Arena, because it was happy days are here again for the Cavaliers.
Right.
They made peace with each other and their situations, and they love each other now, and they love playing the Toronto Raptors, who did not show up in Game 1.
Little dinosaurs.
And they're that's how they played the other night. It was like little dinosaurs.
The lights are too bright sometimes.
Yeah, and the lights were way too bright for their 2 stars. And again, as we talked before going into the series, those 2 guys have to believe in their heart of hearts that they can stand up to the king of Akron, as you call him. And they just didn't look like they could stand up on Monday night, because Cleveland came out and for the first time in a long time clamped down on the defensive end, as they are highly capable of doing. And they sent 2 defenders at DeMar DeRozan right off the bat, and he looked lost. And then Kyle Lowry looked lost. And then Serge Ibaka, who once upon a time in a Western Conference Finals game against my Spurs, made all 11 shots. He went 11 for 11 against my Spurs in a crucial turning point game of the Western Conference Finals that led to your first championship with the Heat that year against Kevin Durant and company.
Who was on the team for the Heat?
That was
number 6. What was his name?
Dwayne Wade. And Bosch, and who else was on that team?
Haslam.
Mario Chalmers was on that team.
Number
Mario
6.
Chalmers had one of the great
Number 6. What was number 6 name?
6?
Yes.
I can't remember who wore 6. That's a weird number to wear.
Don't do that.
Huh?
Don't do that. But I tell you what goes unnoticed, but I think has a big influence. Double T broke up with his girlfriend, Chloe.
I hear that. I'm a Chloe fan. I'm gonna shake your hand. I'm a Chloe fan. I'm gonna shake your hand because you don't get the chance to shake Shannon's hand.
But you're not shaking hands.
You're not shaking him for that reason.
No. I love Chloe.
Now you know.
She's a good.
James Harden. Look at James Harden now. He in MVP contention. Tristan Thompson, 14 and 11.
Can you refute that point, please?
I can't refute that, but I'm just a Chloe fan.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the good family.
I'm trying to win a championship. Now, hey.
He was good about doing that, though. I commend him for that.
So
he's
guess
focused.
what? After the playoff, y'all get back together.
Yeah.
Go to Cabo. Go to Belize.
Yep.
All that.
So to finish on the poor Raptors, so Ibaka disappears on Monday night, and then P.J. Tucker, who I thought could at least bang on LeBron a little bit the way he used to bang on people defensively.
Yeah.
I don't know where he was. LeBron just shrugged him off.
LeBron, I played against LeBron for years, and I would be physical, and he really doesn't care.
No,
it's
that's
not
the way to do it.
And he's way stronger than you anyway. Like P.J. Tucker's very strong, but LeBron is like bison strong.
Bison strong.
Yeah,
you should use that.
No, but somebody told me this is why they got P.J. Tucker. He can bang on LeBron. He can shoot the 3.
I never said he could guard him, but it's just another big body to throw at him.
Skip. Oh, you talking about slow him down?
Yeah.
If
wear him out. Just bang on.
Let me ask you a
He won't wear
question.
him out.
If something can travel 1,000 miles an hour and you slow it down to 800, what have you actually done, Skip? So now instead of getting
slowed it down by 200 miles an hour.
So in other words, so LeBron would have had 45 instead of 3,500.
Yeah. So when you did have success against that guy who used to wear number 6 in Miami, how did you do that?
Well, at that point I was averaging 20, you know, and so I could score, so I put pressure right on the other team, you know, and I would put pressure on guys like LeBron or whoever I was playing against because I could score the ball too. But if you got a guy who can only play defense, that's not really going to affect LeBron.
That's why they put him on the guy. That's why he doesn't play
So
Paul
are you
George. That's
saying
why he doesn't play Kawhi.
that you could score on LeBron on occasion, right?
No, all the time.
All the time. Ooh.
I was a
there we
scorer.
go.
I was averaging 20 points, so it wasn't like I was like a.
Yeah.
You know.
Are we going back to Indiana days?
Well,
or?
right before I got to LA, I was averaging 20,
Yeah.
22 in the playoffs against LA. But then when I played with Kobe, my average went down because I was playing with a lot of.
Everybody average went down.
Everybody average went down.
But
Yeah.
Skip.
So
what's the score tonight, Skip?
So PJ Tucker is pretty useless. And then
Huh? What about the rim
I
Texas?
had a little hope for Norman Powell, who'd come from nowhere, speaking of UCLA, and he just disappeared. Stage too big. Role players on the road don't play well in the playoffs, right? So they had nothing.
You see LeBron grab that brewski?
I see him. I saw that.
Grab our brewski.
I was proud of him. I was proud of him.
Yeah, I was proud of him too.
Yeah.
Grab him a brewski, about to take a swig.
He said, my momentum carried me into the beer lady. No,
Great
he
answer.
ran over to the beer lady and took her beer.
Great answer.
Yeah, should have chugged.
He should have
Oh,
chugged.
yeah.
Like he was chugging Toronto.
He should have chugged it and say, you know what? I can be drunk
Yeah.
and beat you, bum.
Number 6 is the right number for LeBron anyway.
23.
We're being serious.
23.
Didn't he do some whole thing about like, I'm never going to wear 23 again because Michael's the greatest?
He took the headband off.
And then
He
like,
said, I'm starting a
like,
new.
I'm just going to change my mind.
He
I'm gonna wear
started a
23.
noose. You notice he ain't put that headband. He started that headband. He said, I want to be like my
I never
teammates.
liked the headband.
I want to be like my teammates.
Yeah.
I think he was hiding, you know, his hair. But I'm like, you know, that's
Hey,
you.
hey, man, don't do that. Don't do that.
It's him. It's a part of him.
I know, but don't talk about the man hairline.
Just life.
It's okay.
Look, I know it's going back, but don't do that. What you talking about? You keep
Is that all you got?
No mercy. Spurs host the Rockets in Game 2 tonight. The Spurs were blown out in Game 1 when the Rockets hit 22 three-pointers and attempted a playoff record 50 threes. So Shannon, who wins tonight, Spurs or the Rockets?
Skip, I sent a care package. It was full of Bengay and Geritol. And I got the UPS tracking number that it didn't get there in time. So your Spurs are in trouble again.
Well,
The Rockets.
that was a lame reach, but go ahead.
Skip, you know they old. You know they need Bengay and
Bengay
Geritol.
and Geritol. I've been hearing this for like 15 years. Go
You
ahead.
take Geritol?
Do I look like I need it?
What about Bengay?
Do you take Geritol?
I mean,
That's the question.
them joints. I mean, sometimes, you know, I see you walking in and
No
you're
Bengay?
back and you come in there with that big old suitcase.
The Tiger Bomb, anyway.
No.
Bengay's not strong enough.
Icy hot.
He
I'll
used
go
the-
with icy hot.
He used the patch. He got the Bengay patch. Skip, look, here's the thing. I'm gonna go with the Rockets tonight because this is what I just don't trust Lamarcus Aldridge. The problem that they have is that the two guys they play at the 4 position, the power forward, Pau Gasol and Lamarcus Aldridge, they got to chase the stretch 4, which is Ryan Anderson. And the only way you can turn that into a positive is you got to punish Ryan Anderson on the offensive end by posting up Pau Gasol or Lamarcus Aldridge. Now, people have been putting out an APB. They've been looking for Lamarcus. They don't know what happened. Did he, he's on vacation? Did he get kidnapped? They don't know what happened.
Yep.
But 4 points, Skip. And then your 3-man, David Lee, gave you 4 points. Pau Gasol gave you 6 points. Now, you can't win like that. When I look at Kawhi, when I say the Spurs, I say Kawhi gonna give me 25 to 30. I got him down. That's what I wrote down, 25, 30. Where am I gonna get my other points from, Skip? Because you got Capella gave you, now I don't expect Capella to give me 20 points every game, but I do expect somewhere around 10.
Yep.
Ariza is gonna do Ariza. He's gonna give you 12. Ryan Anderson gonna give you about 13, 14. Then you got those two monsters that can stroke it coming off the bench.
Yep.
Lou Williams and Eric Gordon. So where are you gonna get enough points? Skip, you got to have a game. The way the Spurs can win this series and this game is it's got to be low scoring. You start trying to get into 1-teens with Houston, you losing because you don't have enough firepower. I know you love Kawhi the Claw. He's the best two-way player in the game of basketball. You don't have enough firepower to match what the Rockets can throw at you. you shooting a revolver. They got 30 clip. They got 30 clip capacity. They come with Gordon at you. They come with Lou Williams at you. But guess what, Skip? They beat y'all by 30 with James Harden only shooting 13 times. What happens when he go off? You know.
So what do you got? Let's see, if it's Kawhi 30 points and nobody else can score, so the final score is going to be like 110 to 35? What do you think? Well, go. That's what you just made that case. Go ahead.
No, I didn't.
Well, pick a score. I want to hear it.
I'm going to say they win 112. 112
now
to
you're
101.
In trouble.
112 to 101.
You're going to give the Spurs 100 points?
Yeah.
Those old, slow, boring, unathletic Spurs are going to score 101? Yeah. Garbage. Some garbage time points, right?
They're not winning. Now, if they keep the game in the 90s, they can win.
Oh.
They ain't winning no game get over 110. Spurs down 0-2. You come in here all sad tomorrow. I try and cheer you up while kicking you in the butt.
That's it. So I will admit this. I'm going to have to stay hydrated tonight because I'm going to sweat a lot during this game.
And don't be mean to Hazel.
She might be my good luck charm tonight. I'm thinking about it. Sometimes she works, sometimes she doesn't work. So we're going to see. We'll see how it goes in the first quarter. But you make fair points. I'm not going to dispute anything you just said. But I am going to ride with my San Antonio Spurs. And I'm going to stand by what I told you yesterday. My Spurs were feeling really good about themselves coming off a series against a mentally and physically tough Memphis Grizzlies team that was very underrated. And they did them in 6 games. And they had beaten the Houston Rockets the last 3 times in the regular season they had played them. And 2 of those games were in Houston. And by the way, speaking of your score issues, so those last 3 scores, these are all victories by the Spurs during the regular season. It just happened. You know, it was just this last regular season that we just finished, right? The scores were at Houston, 106 to 100, Spurs. I don't know how they did that, but they pulled it off. Then in San Antonio, 102 to 100, Spurs. And then, I'm sorry, that was at Houston again. So 2 times they won in Houston. Each team scored 100, but they scored a little more. And then the game at San Antonio, the more recent game, the Spurs won 112 to 110. So it was a pretty high-scoring game, but the Spurs managed to survive. And so what did I tell you yesterday? My Spurs came out and did not take Houston very seriously because they'd handled them all the last 3 times. And they just watched Houston shoot 28% from 3 against Oklahoma City. And they had just watched Russell Westbrook flying solo have the lead going to the 4th quarter of the last 4 games of that series against the Houston Rockets. So, again, they come out as lifeless. I told you, in all my years watching them, especially on the defensive end, I have never seen them more lifeless, more without energy, without urgency, without intensity, and they have been getting off to slow starts at home all year long. I've talked about it before. You won't remember it because nobody cares until now. They just want to see the Spurs go away. But if you get off to a slow start against these guys and they make 6 threes in the first quarter, what do you think is going to happen?
Blowout.
Bad things are going to happen. It went from bad to all-time worst. So tonight, I believe the Spurs, if nothing else, trust me, they're going to come out and take Houston dead seriously tonight. So what was the pattern? What happened in those last 3 games that the Spurs won in the regular season against Houston? Well, guess what? Overall, they shot 41% from 3, and Houston shot 29% in those 3 games.
Right.
Houston can go just as cold as Houston can go hot from 3. They're going to throw up 50 of them, but if they make 22, you're dead. And if they make 6 or 7, you got a pretty good chance to win the game. So what happened in the first game? At Houston that the Spurs won. James Harden had a triple-double, but he shot 2 for 9 from 3. Then in the second game, again, at Houston, the Spurs shot 52% from 3. Houston shot 15.8% from 3.
Yeah, well,
okay, so win. Third game, this one in San Antonio. What did Kawhi do? Remember this night we talked about to open the show the next day? Kawhi said, MVP, my you-know-what, James Harden. I'll show you in the 4th quarter. And Kawhi scored 17 in the 4th quarter while James Harden managed 4. And Kawhi made all the plays down the stretch, and it was a close game. It was the high-scoring game, 112 to 110. So, again, the best thing that Jeff Bzdelik is the defensive coordinator for Houston. I have high regard for him because he has actually brought a defense to Mike D'Antoni, who has no idea about defense. He doesn't care about defense. So the other night, they came out and jumped all over Kawhi from the start with 2 people. They said, we are not going to let you beat us. We're going to force the ball out of your hands, which leads to my point, to your point, Lamarcus Aldridge. What's up with him? Well, what did I tell you all year? Last year, it was Lamarcus's team because he was the prize of free agency, right?
Yes.
He was a 5-time All-Star, and he makes $20 million a year. So last year, they tried to dump the ball to Lamarcus every time down the floor. You do it. Dribble, 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 dribble. Maybe he shoots a little 15-foot fadeaway. Maybe he gets his left shoulder in, ducks into the lane, shoots a little running one-hander. I couldn't watch it after a while because you can't win that way consistently. Kawhi has turned into, in my view, a superstar. Now, on a night like Game 1, you need the 5-time All-Star to at least carry a little bit of his weight on offense to score 15.
Yeah, absolutely. To offset what Ryan Anderson, because the only way this works, you have to punish Ryan Anderson on the offense.
You know what my fear was?
What?
Game 1? You know what it looked like to me? I thought he was pouting. I thought it was like, oh, all year you want him to be the superstar, and now you need me to score some points. I think I'm not going to shoot tonight. It looked like that to me. I don't know if he's built like that because he can be unselfish to a fault, but trust me, the fire got relit under his behind by Greg Popovich.
Well, here's the thing, Skip. If you're going to tell me that the Spurs are going to shoot 40+%, 50% from three-point range, well, they're going to win the ball game.
Well, who led the league in three-point shooting percentage? Who led the league in the NBA? Help me out.
They did.
San Antonio.
But Skip.
Wow.
But how many are they averaging? You can lead the league. Let me be somewhere around 40%, 39%, getting up 53s. Because you leading the league and only shooting 15, you can't match that. So as cold as they were from the three-point line and against OKC, what if they're just that hot from the three-point line against your team?
If they are, it's over. It is. But you're going to live and you're going to die by it. But what does history tell you? What does recent history tell you about the Houston Rockets?
Well, I tell you what. The Rockets, the Spurs will win the game if that Geritol and that Ben Gay arrives in time, or they shrink the basket. Because they shrink the basket, that three-point ball won't be going in. I'm going to
warn you about this because I've been doing this for a long, long time. I wish I had a nickel over the last 15 years for commentators who sat across from me and said, you guys need Geritol and Ben Gay. You're old, you're slow, you're unathletic, and you're done. I don't know how many times I've heard that because the Spurs have had a long history of stinking up a playoff game here or there because when they get exposed, they look awful. And the next game, they've had a history of bouncing back and playing shockingly well. Wait a minute. Oh, who are those guys? Oh, those are the Spurs that won 61 games that should have been 63 if he hadn't taken his foot off the gas.
What about heating pads?
Heating pads, too. I'm going to give you this. There were times against Oklahoma City, twice in the last 6 years, when I sat back and said, they're just too good. And you know what those times were? The first time was when it was Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, and James Harden. They were just too good. And guess who hit the daggers? James Harden did. Just shot them out. The Spurs won the first 2 games and then lost 4 straight. And I'm like, wow, they're just too good. Then last year, what happened? It was Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. Spurs go up 2-1, and what happened? Greatness happened, where I just sat back and said, they're just too good.
Well, you got 40 opening night from Lamarcus Aldridge. You was feeling good about yourself.
And he was making every 15-footer he looked
everything.
At, right? Okay, so what is this Houston team? Does it have a Durant and a Westbrook?
Nope.
No, it has 1 star.
Right.
It has 1 star, and it has a lot of bit parts that are all really good bit parts when their threes go in.
Right.
If Ryan Anderson is shooting those line drive 40-foot three-point shots that swish, you just sit back and say, that's just too good, you know? And if that happens tonight,
okay, so what's the score? What's the score?
102-100 Spurs. 102-100. I'm going to be objective about it. I'm not even going to say it's going to be.
Oh, I'm not objective, huh?
Oh, you're not. You hate the Spurs.
I don't hate them.
You said you did. They're broccoli to you, right? Yeah, but
they just
broccoli is good
Skip,
for you.
Yeah.
You know they are, Skip.
I don't know. Every night, Ginobili does another thing where I say, I've never seen that before.
Skip, what's their road attendance? So let me ask you a question.
Road attendance? Seriously?
Yeah.
They have one of the biggest followings in the game on the road.
Better than the Cavs?
I think it might be. Listen.
No, I'm sorry. You meant LeBron.
LeBron.
It's specific.
Hey, seriously.
The Cavs,
every night
LeBron,
when they'll go to like the Wizards and half the arena looks like it's Spurs fans.
Well, let me ask you a question. When the Jackson 5 were they going to see the Jackson 5 or were they going to see Michael? When the Prince and the Revolution was together, were they going to see Prince or the Revolution?
Well, okay. So
With the Beatles, you wanted to see. You
asked the wrong question.
You always
asked the wrong question.
You always talk about Ringo.
You're proving my point.
What?
They're there to see LeBron, not the
It don't
Cavs.
matter.
Is anybody going to see the Cavs on the road
Did you
when
buy a
LeBron's
ticket?
not there?
Did you buy a ticket?
It does matter. It's the whole point.
Well, they got Kawhi, the best player in the NBA. They don't want to see Kawhi. They don't want to see the claw.
You are underestimating
What is he, Baron Von Raschke? He the claw or the claw?
Yeah.
Oh,
There's some straight hate coming
You
across
mean to
the
tell me
stage.
don't nobody want to see the claw?
No mercy. Jamaal Charles signed a one-year deal with the Broncos yesterday. Reports say the deal could be worth nearly $4 million. Charles played 9 years with the Chiefs, but only 3 games last year. He had arthroscopic surgery on both knees during the season. Yesterday, Charles talked about joining the Broncos. He said, I've always wanted to play for Denver. Growing up, John Elway was my favorite player. I just like the environment, the team, and the organization. I wanted to be a part of it. I still feel like I can still play ball. I can keep up with the young people. We're joined by Chris Carter. Welcome, Chris. We'll get to you in a minute. But first, Shannon, how much can Charles help your Broncos?
Before I get into that,
your Broncos.
I don't believe I'd have said that last statement out loud. I always wanted to play for the Broncos. I don't know if I'd have said that. I'd have said that maybe they're my favorite team, but not always wanting to play for them. Skip, it's hard to say. Over the last 2 seasons, he's played 8 games with 83 carries. He's had ACL surgery on both knees, and he's had his knees scoped last year. Had both knees scoped last year. So I really don't know what he's gonna be able to give him. I would be lying if I said, "Oh, Skip, oh yeah, he's gonna get." If he's healthy, he can catch the ball. Mike McCoy liked to throw the ball to the running back. I know that. Can he run the ball? Sure. But is he going to be healthy? Now, C.J. Anderson missed the bulk of last year with a meniscus tear. Booker, who they drafted, didn't pan out like they thought he would. So what did John Elway do? He went to the market, signed Jamaal Charles. He got the running back in, the 3rd round? I think the 3rd or the 4th round. Because he said, look, if I can just get 2 people with some healthy bodies, I think we're going to be okay. But for me to go out here and say definitively, I know what he's going to give you, I don't think anyone can. Because 83 carries, 8 games in the last, out of a possible 32, you have no idea. If he's healthy, he can be a major contributor because Mike McCoy will use him because he can catch the ball and he can run the ball. He's been a Pro Bowl player. But for me to go out here and say, oh, yeah, he's going to be no, I can't.
Well, this is the choice you had. Joy should have asked you, would you rather have Jamaal Charles?
Yeah.
Would you rather have Eddie Lacy? Or would you rather have Adrian Peterson? You knew Marshawn Lynch. That was a homemade deal.
Yeah, home discount, right.
You know, and Eddie Lacy's not an old guy, but he's fat. And the only thing worse than being old is being fat.
And you can't be both of those.
So when Joy asked you the question, it's really, there's kind of a back to it because these was your only choices.
Only option.
When you look at the type of money that they were going to spend, so yes, you can say those things are obvious. So was Adrian Peterson. Eddie Lacy's had some problems as a young person staying healthy. Yep. So when you look at trying to add assets to your club, and I will say this is the best offensive team that he would have been able to play on, the Denver Broncos. Because of the 2 wideouts. He's played with a couple people, played with a good tight end in Kelsey here lately. But I'm talking about overall, the offensive personnel, this is the best personnel. So he doesn't have to be the bell cow. He can share the carries. And you made one of the very good points is about Mike McCoy. It's about style and fit. He's a great receiver out of the backfield. He's also great in blitz pickup. You know, he's a veteran player. He's a good guy added to that locker room. And from a history perspective, this is why I believe he can help them.
You do.
They have a weak offensive line. And the ability to run the ball, not for yards, but attempts. If Mike McCoy can get 20 to 25 attempts running the ball between the tackles. Now, Jamaal might only have 15 of those, 12 of those. But his ability to run the ball effectively is the best all time. His numbers, highest in NFL history. per carry, yards per carry at 5.45, ahead of the legendary, the man you stand up when he walks in the room,
the GOAT,
Jim Brown,
Godfather,
at 5.22.
Yep.
So I believe they're going to get some of that, 5.4 yards a carry with a bad offensive line. So that's a good fit. And just like me, just like you, we all grew up somewhere, and we might not have liked the team that we grew up in that region.
Right.
He grew up in Texas. Obviously, he didn't like what they had. He liked the Broncos. Denver's not that far away. I'm not that surprised. I grew up close to the Bengals. I love the Dallas Cowboys, always since I was a kid.
Who didn't?
I mean, like,
Everybody.
I
was a Steelers and a Raiders guy.
You were just a weird kid, but
yes,
I didn't like the Falcons. What was I going to cheer for, Skip?
I don't.
Kid.
You remember Fulton County Stadium?
Weird
Kid.
Yeah, thrown out of that.
Yeah.
You know, so I can understand why they picked him up. I can understand also because a lot of us have dreamed about playing this league a long time, and he's just telling the truth. And nothing, how can you be wrong when you're being authentic? I wanted to play for this team for a long time, Skip.
What I don't know is, did he grow up in Port Arthur, Texas, which is way down there on the Gulf Coast?
Mm-hmm.
As a Bronco fan down there, not a Texan Oilers, whatever, or Cowboys.
He bypassed a lot of teams to get to the Broncos.
I'm wondering if it came from the blood rivalry that you know all too well, Chiefs, Broncos. Did it come from looking across the field at that orange, saying, "I'd like to be wearing that orange someday"? Because that's what I'm guessing. That's where it came from.
Yeah, I think it's a combination because if he liked Elway and was attached to that, and then just being there in Kansas City, and we know, without Shannon's endorsement, man, the Denver Broncos for the last 40 years have done things first class, on and off the field. They have taken care of their players.
They definitely
Pat
do.
Bowlen and what football, what it meant to him personally, is really, really special. So I think that being in that division after growing up with Elway.
And now he passed the reins on Joe Ellis is running the team. And Joe Ellis has kept things, Miss Bowlen, they've kept things. They always take care of their players that come back.
Okay, so right now you could go back to Denver and run for mayor and win it. I believe it. And you could go back to Minneapolis and be treated like the legend you are, right? You could go, you would be treated, it's almost godlike. You were born purple, right? Even though you started with the Eagles, but you became a Viking for life. And this guy just blew it up, man, because that's the one thing you cannot say in Kansas City. I've always wanted to be a Bronco. You did?
Kansas City on the Raiders, Skip.
Hey.
We had it Raider week.
Right.
We hate Kansas City.
I know. It's a blood rivalry. It's arch. It's Cowboys, Redskins. So you just burned the bridge. You cannot go back to Kansas City, and you were there for 9 years. And a lot of guys like to go back and eventually live where they play,
They have a connection, yes.
Yeah. And so maybe he goes back to Austin, where he played at the University of Texas, and he can be a legend there. That's fine. But I was just shocked by this. It's a good thing to say for Bronco fans, because they're going to embrace you much quicker than they would as an ex-Chief. Right?
I mean, I would have never, even if I had left and gone to Pittsburgh, because like I said, Skip, my mom was a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and she passed it to me and my brother, and the Raiders. And CC can attest to this. The two helmets, when you go to the Pro Bowl, that goes the fastest are the Dallas Cowboys and the Oakland Raiders. Everybody wants those helmets.
And Pittsburgh's up there, too.
Well, Greg Lloyd was my homeboy. He went to Fort Valley, so that was a done deal. But Skip, it is okay to lie if it will save you from great harm or despair.
Who said that?
You can tell.
I just made that up.
Oh. You did.
We'll see if we can get that on Twitter.
It sounded very wise because you used the word despair.
I mean, think about it now. Like you said, you're going to want to go back and so what if they have a get-together?
I would have preferred you said your auntie.
But here's the thing, though, Skip. What is he going to go back for? They're not going to have a get-together for a Super Bowl. They're not going to have a get-together for an AFC Championship team.
If he wanted to go live there and be a living...
I think the Kansas City fans, they do love hard, but I think that when it's all said and done, he'll be remembered as one of the great Kansas City players. I think
he had 5 monster years.
They ain't have a whole lot of, they had Joe Delaney. You remember Joe Delaney? He was a monster. He died tragically trying to save 2 teenagers. and Priest Holmes, great running back. They had Christian Okoye back.
Man, the legends in Kansas City, man, are the Hall of Famers.
The D.
Willie Lanier.
Willie Lanier.
Buck Buchanan. Man, those are the boys
Bobby
in
Bell.
Kansas City. Yes.
Emmett Thomas.
Yeah.
Yes.
So bottom line to this,
DT.
I'm with your first point. His history would tell you that he won't offer you much next year because after 2 ACLs and 2 more scopes on each knee,
And he's
and
in
you're
year
30.
10.
Yeah, really? I don't know, but I hope he helps for your sake a little bit here and there.
I hope so,
Okay,
too.
who has a better year, him or Adrian Peterson?
Adrian Peterson, I'm going to say.
I'm going to say Adrian Peterson.
I think Adrian will be better than Marshawn will be.
I'm going Marshawn.
And it's only because of Sean Payton is just going to say, watch this. I'm going to show you. I'm going to.
So what are they going to do with Kamara? What are they going to do with Ingram?
I'll bet Adrian has more carriers.
Junior ain't having it.
Yeah.
Junior
He
want
will
a
not-
feature role.
I know.
Junior want a feature role.
Well, I think he might be 1A this year. That's what I'm guessing.
And Kamara is better at catching the ball out of the backfield than both of them.
Oh, that's all he can do. He can't run the ball. He's too small.
What was that quote again? It's okay to lie if it saves you from great what? And despair? Harm or despair?
I'm not sure about that quote. I'm not sure I
Yeah.
agree with that quote. But
Nah, you don't.
No.
It's okay, Skip.
No.
It's okay.
No.
Someone to start
If
lying.
I'm-
Shannon
no,
said
no,
it's
no.
okay because
If
it's
it was
saving
saying-
me,
if-
so it's
if it
okay.
was-
No mercy. Adam Jones was cheered by some Red Sox fans during his first at-bat in last night's game at Fenway Park. This came a day after Jones said a fan threw a bag of peanuts at him, and he was called the N-word during Monday's game. Let's take a listen to Adam Jones after the game last night.
Much appreciated. Like I said before, it was much appreciated by Boston Red Sox and MLB getting ahead of it, and just appreciative that action was taken and that not everybody feels the same way as selected people. So I just appreciate what they did. I've never on the road gotten any ovations or anything like that, so it just caught me off guard a little bit. So I just was like, oh, okay, this is something different, and I just wanted to get in the box and get on with the game.
We're joined by Rob Parker. Welcome, Rob.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What's happening?
Rob, why you? You looking like new money, don't it, Skip? How many suits you put in his contract? How many suits in his
I
contract?
don't know.
He come up here with
You look
every
good,
day Skip
Rob.
with a new suit.
Every day you look good.
Thank you.
What is your take on this situation?
I think Boston yesterday was embarrassed, got caught with their pants down, so they showed up and tried to do something to kind of take the sting off of it by doing something that was kind of classy right there, a standing ovation, considering what had happened the night before. I love the way Adam Jones has handled himself. By exposing what went on, and then he's not like, this guy's played for 12 years. He's a really good player, been around him a lot. I like the guy. Like, he's a stand-up guy and an honest guy. And he's about playing baseball, but he's also not going to let that slide, and I like that. You know, when you could have just let it slide and not say anything. But Boston does not get off the hook for being arguably the most racist sports town in America. Atlanta's the worst sports town in America, and Boston is the most racist sports town in America. It just is. And it's not just this situation. There's a laundry list of things that have gone on in that town and how people were treated. PK Subban a couple years ago. We know the Joel Ward, that happened. And then of all the stuff, all you need to do is go to Bill Russell, who played there, who won 11 championships in 13 years, who called the fan base racist, plain and simple.
No, actually, he used in his book, and I read a little bit of it because I wanted to get he called it a flea market of racism. That's what he said in his book. Bill Russell said Boston is a flea market.
And the worst part, though, and the pushback you always get from Boston is it's not us. Ted Wells is a liar. It's always somebody else. The radio foofs up there in Boston, Skip, had the nerve to ask the president of the Red Sox, well, did you hear it? Did you hear it? And question that Adam Jones, a 12-year vet who has no history of nothing but playing baseball, is going to make up a story and they're going to say, well, did you hear it? Did you hear it?
Because by their notion, they throw peanuts to black players in the field of play. That's what don't they do that at every state?
Everywhere, I guess. So they don't understand. So when I hear that stuff, it bothers me. But then again, Boston's never been one of my favorite towns. And if you talk to black players, just off the record in conversation.
Sabathia on the record, right?
Hold
right?
up. Yeah. You know
I'm just saying, but most of the time, I hate that place. Don't want to go up there.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
I got to give it to you with no chase. I got to give it to you straight because that's the only way I know how to give it to you. While I commend Boston Red Sox fans for standing up and applauding, see what they do? They say something. They become racist, and they say, oh, I'm sorry, and they want you to move on. Nope, I'm not going to do it. Neither should Adam Jones. And as you mentioned, for the radio station to question, because see, this is what they do. When we say you committed an act against us, you say, no, we didn't. How do you know? The man told you there's a bag of peanuts on the field. He's been a place where they... Sports is a microcosm of society. What's the biggest issue going on in American society right now? Race. Because you can hit a baseball, because you can catch a football, because you can dunk a basketball, it does not insulate you from racism.
And no matter how much money you make.
No.
Like, people always think that that's it. Or that this country had a black president, so everything's cool. Like that, like, oh no, there can't be any race. What are you talking about? We hired a black president, not only elected him, but he had 2 terms.
And then this is what gets me, because I see a lot of this on my timeline. So what's the solution? The rape victim shouldn't have to tell the rapist how she should protect herself from being raped by you. Why do I got to tell you I'm the one that's being discriminated against? I'm the one that's being denigrated. And I need to tell you how I need to act so you don't do it? How about let's start with this? Don't you denigrate me. Don't you demean me. Don't you call me out of my name. Let's start with that. And when I tell you what's bothering me, don't tell me, oh, it's not the problem. How about we take it a step like this here, Skip Bayless? Because I know you're not big into politics, but I am. And I study. See, I don't listen to all this. I listen to little intricacies. When President Trump was on the campaign trail, he was just running for the president. He was on the campaign trail. He was asking, and they would go around and ask, what do you like so much about him? He hears us. He's listening to us. And we feel that once he gets in office, he'll take care of us. But when blacks, they say, well, we need affordable health care. We need better paying jobs. We need better education. Oh, you just being lazy. When they ask the white people, they say the government failed them. You see what they did there? Blacks are lazy, but the government failed whites. You see how they did it? You see what they did? Oh, this black on black crime. I ain't heard white on right yet, but let me tell you what I need you to do.
You've never heard that term.
And when people say the blacks need to do better by blacks, here's the thing. Unless blacks are in position to pass policy that interfere with my ability to get an education, unless blacks are in position to make policy that interfere with me being able to get affordable health care, unless blacks are in position to affect my ability to earn an income, then you can't do anything to me. It's the people. We send hundreds and thousands of people that make policy that interfere with my ability to do this. So let me tell you what I'm going to do, Skip. And let me tell you how people think and what people will do. If you take away my hope, and I don't have a hope of getting an education, or I don't have hope of getting a good paying job or affordable income, I'm going to tell you what Malcolm X told the people. When they asked Malcolm, what should you do? What would you do? Whatever you would do, I would do exactly what you do because I'm a man just like you. So what would you do? It bothers me, Skip. It bothers me. It bothers me that President Obama is getting so much blowback for a paid speech. Last I checked, President Obama is a private citizen.
Okay. Let's get back to the N-word at Boston, because let's be careful here, because you and I have had this discussion many times over many years. We're not condemning all of Boston, every resident of Boston,
of course,
as racist, because they're not. But I've told you when we have discussed politics off the air, you bring up red states are racist by nature, and I say, time out. I know a couple of blue states up there in the Northeast where there are long histories of racism in Boston and in a city you grew up, not that you grew up in New York City, but it has a long history of racism also, and we could go through chapter and verse of that. I go back to I sat down with Jim Rice. I was at the Miami Herald in 1976, and Jim Rice was a big deal in Boston.
Yes, he was.
And he was a black man, and he went through hell with racism in Boston following the Bill Russell sort of era with the Celtics. So it just keeps going on and on and on. And I told you yesterday, part of me was really happy that Adam Jones had the guts and the stature to stand up, because it takes some stature to stand up and take a stand against this.
And call people out on it.
Right. Unfortunately, he puts himself in the line of fire again. I hope it doesn't encourage others to try to get his goat, like get under his skin, because he's got, as they say in baseball, rabbit ears. He's listening to too much. But how can you not hear that word? It's the single most evil word in the English language. And when you hear it, your ears are going to perk up, right? So it did my heart good that they did give him a standing ovation, because it showed this. I've often wondered, how do you police those? Remember, it's like booing in a stadium. Sometimes you get booed, and I say, well, how many people actually booed you? Well, maybe it was only like 30 or 40, but if you stand up and go boo as loud as you can, it's going to echo through the stadium, right? Well, maybe there were, I don't know, 6 or 8 people who yelled the N-word at Adam Jones. It could even be fewer than that. It could be 3 or 4, but that's too many, 3 or 4 too many.
Correct.
So how do you police it? Because technically, we went back and forth about this yesterday, I don't know, you can't prosecute them because they have freedom of speech. They can yell that word out if they want to, I think, unless does it qualify as a hate crime? I don't know.
No, but I think there's you could say in your stadium what's acceptable or not, and object them.
Yeah.
But there's no law thing, right?
Adam Jones was told that 60 people got ejected, which seemed pretty high to me, right?
But Skip, this is not a baseball problem. This is not a major league problem.
But I think
this is an American problem.
But it's more of, we're just talking about sports right now. Yeah. I'm with you on that. But in this venue, it's become, it's remained more acceptable than it is in other venues, right? I don't know that it's, maybe you can't hear it at a pro football game. You definitely don't hear it at the NBA game.
Right. Baseball's a little different because you're in the outfield. You know what I mean? Yeah. You're more intimate. If you're sitting in a certain section, right.
Basketball and football games, there's cheering going on, but when the guy's not doing anything, Skip, there's no cheering going on. But they tell you, Skip, it's one bad apple. Dusty Baker talked about these bad apples. Adam Jones talked about these bad apples. CeCe Sabathia. So is it the same bad apple? But the problem, it's an isolated incident. Here's the thing, Skip. An isolated incident. Did you hear about American University? They got them on camera. Somebody hung the bananas on the AKA with a noose. Did you see about in my state, Georgia, 2 Gwinnett police officers, hours apart, beat up unarmed black men. Did you hear about the young man that got killed? See, you keep saying it's isolated, but it's raining racism everywhere in America. These are not isolated incidents, America. And you see, Skip, you say don't paint everybody with a broad brush. Welcome to what it's like being black in America, because they paint us all with a broad brush because there's a few black. And people get upset. That's not me. But you racial profile us. So we just want you to see what it's like. You don't want to listen to us because we've been telling you it for 400 years. For 6 generations, we started from behind with education. We started from behind with economics. We started behind.
Okay, but back to this. There's one way that this can be policed, and it's by white people standing up in the stands and saying, we won't accept that.
Well, they have to point out, right. They have to point out who's the perpetrator.
Okay, he did it. And point out, if a bunch of white people turn to the ushers or the security people and say, he screamed that word to him.
Really,
that's
Skip?
all you can do.
Really, Skip?
Yeah. Well, you've always said you want white players to stand up for black players, right?
Skip,
that's what they did yesterday.
Skip, we get white cops shooting black men on video.
We're just talking about the N-word at a baseball game. I'm with you on all
Skip,
that.
That's the status quo.
But how do we know that that's not what happened? How do we know that's not how they found the guy that yelled it? We don't know that.
No,
we don't know the
and
details of how this
I
guy
would assume that they needed help from somebody because if you're Adam Jones, it's hard for him to point out.
So let me ask you a question. Right. If they pointed them out, so this was the first time that happened. David Price said he heard that when he pitches for the team.
No,
because he wasn't living up.
Shannon, it's been going on for centuries.
Oh, yeah.
This goes way back into...
So ain't nobody ever pointed it out?
No, I'm saying it's the first time anybody stood up was Adam Jones. It's a baseball problem more than other sport problems.
No, Skip, it's a society problem.
Well, I know that, but I'm saying this manifests itself more at baseball games than it does at NBA. Have you heard about this at an NBA game?
No.
Okay.
And I would say just to wrap the whole Boston thing in, it's no shock also that the last team to get a black player was the Boston Red Sox.
That is correct.
12 years after Jackie Robinson. It just buys into what people are not.
The bottom line is people need to stop making excuses for people that behave this way.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
No doubt about
and
it.
passing the buck.
Oh, it's one bad apple.
That's
It's
not,
a
it's not
isolated
It shouldn't
incident.
happen, but it doesn't mean that you can't say Boston. I'm sorry.
No mercy. This is the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast, where we're delivering you an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the biggest topics of the day's show. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, and YouTube. Like us on Facebook at Undisputed on FS1, follow on Twitter at Undisputed, and catch us at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific, Monday through Friday on FS1. You can find us on Channel 219 on DirecTV, 150 on Dish. Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm your host, Joy Taylor. That's all the debates for today. We're back tomorrow with Chris Carter, Chris Broussard, James Jones, and Cedric Ceballos. We'll talk to you then.
Fox Sports, one of one.